Hi, everybody. This is Steve Ludwig, host of Steve Ludwig's Classic Pop Culture and the Beatles Hour with Steve Ludwig at planetludwig.com. Here's an interview we did with Arthur Brown from the Crazy World of Arthur Brown, Fire, on December 3rd, 2013. Show number 18. To hear the entire show, check out the menu at planetludwig.com. And please enjoy the interview. And we are joined right now by certainly one of my old-time musical heroes. I am a child of the 60s, and the first time I heard the opening line to the word fire, and I heard it was The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, I said, this Arthur Brown is the coolest. And right now I have the honor and privilege of speaking with Mr. Arthur Brown. Mr. Brown, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and hopefully we'll be able to follow it up soon by playing over there.
Well, I check your website often, which, by the way, fans, is Arthur, ARTHUR, Brown.com. Arthur-Brown.com. It is one of the coolest websites going, too, by the way. But I check it always saying, come on, he's in Germany, he's over here, but get out of Europe and come to the U.S. So maybe someday we'll get to see the crazy world in this crazy continent.
Yeah, we're sending over some medicine and antidotes for anybody who comes to our concerts. And our agent Ben Holland is working on it now to come over. It's about time we did some work across America, I think.
Oh, that would certainly be something to look forward to. Now, why I'm so excited that you're speaking with us is you have this fantastic new CD, Zim Zam Zim. Can we talk about that for the majority of our conversation?
Yeah. The current band features mostly people, apart from the dancer, 30 and under, and so they have a knowledge of the music from my generation, plus the kind of rhythmic approaches that are current, without necessarily trying to sound like we're 15. So we decided that we would go back, and much the same as has been done with other artists. Johnny Cash, for instance, and try and revisit the original spring of the creativity, which in this case goes back to the original Crazy World album and the kind of imagery and all of that, and make that something that is relevant now. So keep the well springs that people responded to in the early music, and incorporate all the musical influences that have arrived ever since, in my case. So it's been a very good cooperative album, writing, and the writing has mainly been done, the lyrics, between me and the drummer, Sam Walker, and then the music between us two and Jim Mortimer, the bass player, and then the actual mixing of it is mainly Jim, and of course he lets us listen to things and we make suggestions. So it's a cooperative venture all the way through.
I really love the fusion of, like you had said, you're using modern tech and things like that, but you're not sounding like you're 15. And fans of Arthur Brown, like you said, would recognize from the Crazy World, the first album, but you handle some very, very topical issues. I mean, I'm thinking of the song "Want to Love," talking about child abuse, and if I may just quote a line here, "You are a warrior fighting to regain your life. I think I'm a lot like you. I think you're a lot like me." Some heavy stuff in here, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, well, I didn't feel like it was worth pulling any punches, I mean, it was a direct song from the heart. I did do when I lived in Texas, I worked at a unit for young girls who'd been abused pretty badly, mainly in their family situation, and I was one of the family counselors. And it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and I just wrote it for those people, really, initially, and now it's got a wider relevance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it does. When you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago that you didn't pull any punches, that's one of the beauties of Zim Zam Zim for me as a fan, is that as a listener, I'm going to hear things I probably haven't heard before from many people. And knowing that, I can't wait to hear even the next line, let alone the next song. You really you have a great grasp on us. Like, what's he going to say next? And it's just such what a well-rounded album too. I mean, there are so many different styles, and I really congratulate Leo on such a really, really fine effort.
Thank you. It partly arose from a conversation with my son in Texas, Ollie, about. I was just looking back, and this was before I got together with Sam and Jim. I think what most people know about me is the God of Hellfire. So maybe I'll revisit that character and expand it. And then after a while, my son wrote back and said, no, really, I've been thinking about it, listening to lots of different theatrical and storytelling things, and I think you've got to create a new character. And so Sam, the drummer, said, well, why don't you just text me things that come up in your mind? And of course he got inundated with it, and there was one section that he really liked, which is the opening piece on the album. You got to hold a vision in your heart, let the vision come from where we all start. And
before the
from
Big
there,
Bang.
yeah, absolutely. And from there came the idea of a character, and then a whole world developed around this character, which the story is, the album is not a story, it's just songs from Zim Zam Zim, the character. Mm-hmm. But then in the texts that we'll be putting up on the website and everything, then the whole world that he lives in is going to be exposed. And it's funny because partly what he did in that world has now already started to come true, because in 10 days' time I unveil the thought music, which is music that is made just by the movements of my mind and my control of it.
It's the future of music, I see on your website. Right? Yeah. No, I mean, you're such an interesting person, Arthur. I'm sure you've heard that from many people. I know I'm not the first person to tell you that, but there are so many styles that are incorporated into music. How early did you know that music was your calling? Were you a young boy or a teenager, or when did you say, you know what, I think this is my life's work? Well,
I always enjoyed singing, and being a child that was born during the Second World War, there was a lot of sadness around, and my way of dealing with it was go off in the hills and sing, and that would get rid of it. But it wasn't until I was at London University, and I went to my first open-air concert, live concert, which in that case, in those days, was New Orleans traditional jazz. And they played this number, Maryland, ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba,
oh, sure.
Otherwise known as. And when it came to the improvised section, I was just carried away out of all conditions whatsoever. And I let go of everything and felt kind of total freedom. And so when I came back into my everyday mind, I thought, gosh, if music does that, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a couple of notes that I made. I wanted to make sure to mention this to you. The song "Ah Son" is a beautiful song from the new CD. I love all the songs, but I just made notes that I wanted to make sure. I wanted to thank you for certain things. And on "Muscle of Love," I mean, you're the Tantra King, but the horns are just so cool on Muscle of Love. I mean, the whole CD, Arthur, is just, oh, what a joy to listen to.
Well, thank you. I'm glad it's like a child, really. It comes into its own and takes over, and next thing you know, it's happened, and it's really nice to hear that somebody likes listening to it.
Oh, well, more than a person, believe me, Arthur. I'm sure you have fans that can't even count. There's so many of us still out there. I know you've been so busy and I know it's late by you right now, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. One more quick question, or two more very quick questions? Okay, thanks. He has, of course, given you all the props and all the thanks in the world, but you were such a heavy influence on Alice Cooper, and I know you. I think it was from a 2011 Halloween show in London. You sang Fire on stage. What kind of a relationship do you have with Alice Cooper?
Well, he's always been a very honest and straightforward person as far as influences were concerned. And he said, well, without Arthur Brown, there wouldn't be an Alice Cooper. And I was that was nice, but I always felt, particularly in his early stuff that I actually saw, that he obviously took it in his own direction, and he's always, been appreciative, and he invited me, of course, to play golf next time.
Well, sure, there you go,
next time I walk out of my yurt in England and just happen to stroll by Arizona or wherever it is.
Right. You happen to have your golf clubs with you.
But yeah, he's always really pleasant, and I've enjoyed he likes to really analyze what he looks at in terms of music. It's not just passing by and then somebody says to him, no, oh, you should do that. No, he listens to it. And I remember when he came to see my second band, we played with him at the the Rainbow, or one of the big concert halls in England. And he came up after it and he said, that was psychodrama you were doing. Yeah.
He would know.
Yeah, he would. So I've always found it a very easy relationship, because he's one of the people who doesn't have to push himself. He doesn't feel like he has to prove in a conversation that he's better than you or anything like that. He's just straight up.
Yeah, you both seem very confident in your bodies and your person. Last question: how many times have people accused you of being Satan because of the song Fire? You must have heard that your whole darn life.
Yeah, there are people, particularly when we first came out with the flames and the words and the makeup and everything, which they weren't used to. Oh yes, we got so many accusations. There were even. I remember I got a letter from one of the Black Witch cults in America, written in black ink on black paper, so that you had to turn it at a certain angle to the light, and then it was a bit silverish. You know how it goes with something. And there were lots of times. But I'll tell you a funny story. We were playing in, about 1998. The then version of Crazy World was playing the Drac Fest in the north of England. It's a yearly event where all the goths go to. Mm-hmm. And about 4 days before, I got a call from my manager, and he said, we have trouble. You have to go up early. And I said, what's the problem? He said, well, we've got a problem with the mayor, and we've got a problem with the bishops. So I went up early, and he came with me. And so I won't tell you about the mayor yet. That's a very funny story, but of a different kind. But the bishop, I walked in, and he was writing something, and he didn't look up. And then he looked up, and he said, Arthur Brown. And I said, yes, your worship, your blessedness, or whatever it was. And he said, well, I believe you're also known as the God of Hellfire. And I said, yes, your blessedness. And he said, and I understand that you want to come and play in my parish with your Hellfire. And I said, yes, I do. Yes, there are people there waiting to watch us perform. And I felt, oh dear.
Where is this going?
He's gonna call me a devil worshiper. And he said, let me tell you something. I first saw you in 1967. And you came on stage with your head on fire and you shouted this blasphemous thing. He said, it was that drove me into the church. And he said, so you may have permission to play in my parish.
Your influence is all reaching.
Yeah.
So his whole congregation has you to thank.
Yeah, I mean, that was the humorous side of it. The other side was, getting our gear kicked downstairs. People being really horrendous.
I don't want to even think about death threats. I guess, unfortunately, you must have received one or two of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Geez. Boy, talk about suffering for one's art, but we music fans certainly know where reality and the other, where the line comes. And I just want to thank you so much. Before we leave, I want everyone to know it's Zim, Zam, Zim. Listeners, I can't believe it, but if you've never heard an Arthur Brown song, get this CD. It is one of the most imaginative musical journeys you'll ever take. How can people get the CD, Mr. Brown?
Well, initially it'll be through the website, and we are in process. We've got the website together, the album, the video, and probably next thing we may even look at a management. In which case, then we'll go to a record company. But initially, it would be to the website.
And that's arthur-brown.com, everyone. Mr. Brown, I can't thank you enough. I want to thank you for a lifetime of musical enjoyment for me. Since I was a teenager, I've listened to you, and it's just been a privilege to speak with you. And I thank you so much for giving up your time to speak with us tonight.
Well, I'm speaking to you from my yurt, and I have walked 2 miles to get back here in time where there's enough of a signal to
we
be able
appreciate
to speak.
that as well. You got your exercise in, and we had a nice conversation. So
yeah, and I thank you and all the fans for the support over the years.
Our pleasure, and happy holidays to you, Mr. Brown.
All right.
Okay, yes.